Welcome back. Horses continue to work at Leopardstown after racing Cheltenham-bound horses. We've got Don Cossack out on track at the moment. He's over on the far side under Brian Cooper, and he, Mick, is a real key horse in terms of the Irish novice chase form lines.
Yeah, he is. He ties in really strongly with the likes of Carlingford Lough, Ballycasey, who we're going to see in a minute. You know, he's a gorgeous big black horse. You know, he really catches the eye in everything that he does. He was very impressive when he won at was it Punchestown earlier on this year?
Fairyhouse.
Or Fairyhouse. You know, that was a good performance on that occasion, and there was a lot to like of it. But look at this. This is, you know, there's many people who would love to have that many horses in their yard. Never mind have that many horses working at the race. And you can see Don Cossack. He's right at the front of this little army. He finished 4 lengths behind Ballycasey last time, of course. He was upsides Carlingford Lough when that one deposited AP after the last. But, you know, they're just letting these horses breeze. Bobby McNally, it looks like riding the horse in the middle. Bobby, who's spent quite a bit of time over here with Paul Nicholls, and he's back now with Gordon Elliott. Very much a member of that team.
And it's probably worth remembering as well that Don Cossack's got multiple entries at the festival, so hasn't he? He's in the Arkle and the 4 Mile, the RSA, the JLT, and the Burn Group Plate as well.
Yeah, he's also in. They've also left him in the Arkle, believe it or not, Don Cossack. They're covering all the bases. But again here, you know, these lot are doing a little bit more work than Desi Hughes is, but Don Cossack is doing it all nice and easily. And Brian Cooper, as you said, Martin, he's not able to take up duties getting paid for it this afternoon, but he's here to ensure that his intended rides at the Cheltenham Festival are all in one piece. And
I think it was originally a 6-day ban or a 7-day ban that he got 1 day taken off.
Taken off, yeah. Yeah.
But he's able to ride at the festival, which I'm sure is the the more important day he'd rather be riding.
For sure.
So there's that group of 12 who've done a circuit of the track, and one more group to go. They're going to be Willie Mullins' horses, and Ballycasey has Ruby Walsh on board. And we've got Boston Bob as well in this particular group.
He's the little horse there.
With Patrick on?
No, that's not it. Say that's Boston Bob there with Paul Townend on him.
The yellow cap. So Ballycasey set to work here, and this is the first of 3 days, I think, Mick, is it, where they're going to be working horses at Leopardstown?
I don't think there'll be as many people there tomorrow. Or
no.
Or Tuesday. A lot of people there. That we're thinking that's Paul Townend on Boston Bob. You can see there's plenty of people taking pictures. Well, they might actually be taking pictures of themselves, but I would think they're taking pictures of the horses.
It's a great day today as well. If you get the chance at some stage to go Leopardstown, there's a big preview just down the road as well tonight at the Louis Fitzgerald.
I think it's fantastic, and you know, it is a real opportunity to see the stars up close, because you know, not only are you getting to see equine stars, but you get a chance to see people like Ruby Walsh, David Casey, Patrick Mullins, Barry Geraghty is over there riding work today. You know, Brian Cooper, Paul Townend, all these lads who, you know, are masters of their craft. You get a chance to see them up close. And talking of masters of their craft...
and some of the journalists hanging around the side there, Niall Cronin and Tony O'Hare.
But that is, you see, that is what Willie Mullins does unbelievably well. He does so much of it by his eye. Like, can you see a list in his hand? There's no list.
No.
Everybody else has got a list, bar Willie Mullins. Willie knows every one of these horses inside out, and he'll know how much he wants to do with these horses by just looking at them, because he'll know, ooh, he looks fit enough. I don't want to do too much with him. Why don't we just let him jump 2 or 3 fences and that'll do?
Well, they've yet to head out onto the track, these horses, but Ballycasey, who's had an interrupted career, I guess, Mick, didn't he? He was got to go to the festival last year, was ruled out at the last moment, and has been lightly raced this season as well.
Not had the easiest of times, has he?
No. It would have been fascinating to have seen what would have happened last time as well if Carlingford Lough had stood up at the last.
Yeah, you know, Carlingford Lough, on what we've seen so far, stays well. and it'll be finishing up the hill. And I think Carlingford Lock is a very interesting one. Actually, we had an emailer earlier on saying that how pleased he was that we flagged it
up. Somebody praying that we didn't mention his name, and sadly for him we did. Boston Bob as well, another one who's got multiple entries at the festival. I mean, I thought at the start of the season he could be a potential Gold Cup dark horse, but they've gone down the hurdles route with him, and his jumping just hasn't come up to scratch at the last two festivals, has it?
He had a very tough fall, didn't he, at the last in the RSA. And
then he fell at Punchestown after that as well.
And, you know, they wouldn't be going down that route if they could have gone chasing with him and thought he was going to be competitive chasing. So, you know, that's something to bear in mind.
So here we go then. Ballycasey leads out Boston Bob with 3 other Willie Mullins inmates in behind. I guess all the experience that Ballycasey can absorb is going to be important to him, given he's only had 2 outings over fences.
Yes. He did run in 3 points though. I know that's a totally different discipline and sphere, but he's still jumping fences. And the amazing thing was he couldn't win a point.
No, 5th, 3rd,
he had 3
2nd.
goals, and he couldn't win a point. And he was bought for 80 grand.
From the point-to-point field?
Yeah. So, you know, who says that Willie Mullins only buys all the top lots? That's not true. You know, he buys a horse because he likes it as an individual. And, you know, Harold Kirk, who's a very integral part of that team of buying horses. He's got a couple of good guys in France as well who spot horses for him. But that's all part and parcel of getting the job right. You need to be buying the right stock. You know, and that's why, you know, Paul Nicholls, I don't know how they manage it, but, you know, Paul Nicholls, he's had a lot of horses bought for him by David Minton and Anthony Bromley, and Nicky Henderson's had a lot of horses bought for him by David Minton and Anthony Bromley. I don't know how they worked that out, or they juggled one on the other. But you can see we've got all the jockeys on board. David Casey, Ruby Walsh, Paul Townend, Mikey Fogarty, it looks like right at the back, and Patrick Mullins.
So they've gone out, they've had a look at the first fence. And I guess it'll be interesting. We'd imagine these ones will school, actually, will they? Given they've gone and had a look at the fence.
Yeah, you would have thought so, but
they are schooling, we're hearing, so.
Here we go. But this is a tried and tested recipe. You know, this is not like they don't know what they're doing. These guys have been doing this for years, and 10 days before the festival, this is like routine.
Yeah.
It's like you getting up in the morning and putting the kettle on to make a cup of tea. This is what they do 10 days before the festival, and you know, they won't be doing any more than they normally do, or any less. Oh.
I guess they'll need to take a turn, won't they, to go back the other way. And head out on the final circuit. And of course,
I'll have a look and see who else is joining in the fun. There we go. I think there'll be a lot of eyes on these two.
I was thinking as well of Willie and Ruby. I mean, 4 to 7, Ruby top jockey, 2 to 5, Willie top trainer.
No value there, is there?
No.
Mind you, if they have 4 winners in the first day, it'll be value. Ooh, Ballycasey, he almost did what Champagne Fever did, you know. Put down on Ruby at that fence. It just runs a little bit away from them, that obstacle. It's a tricky one. Now we'll see what happens here. Boston Bob and Ballycasey pretty good there.
And do we think the fact that Boston Bob's been campaigned over hurdles this year still has got the chase entries at the festival? Is there maybe a significance to the fact they're schooling him over fences today?
Well, it has to be. This could be the decider. You know, if this horse jumps really well today, it's difficult to then turn around and say, well, yeah, why don't we run him over hurdles?
And as well, if they were thinking about the Ladbrokes World Hurdle for him, and they've got Annie Power in the wings for that as well.
You just don't know.
The Gold Cup horse.
Martin, surely, by now, you've learned.
I'm not trying to second guess.
You do not second guess Willie Mullins, because Willie, it's almost like he's playing a game, and I think he actually enjoys it, because, you know, who knows, it might be part of his process, but you'd have to say, The evidence that we have in front of us at the moment, it looks like Boston Bob is going chasing.
OK, it's David Casey in the yellow cap there on Boston Bob.
It's not David Casey in the yellow hat. I'll have anything you like, it's not David Casey in the yellow hat. It's Paul Townend in the yellow hat. David Casey's on this side.
Yes.
Now, let's just have a look at how he jumps this Ballycasey. It was good there. He was just running at that fence as well, Martin, you know, and it was good that he came up there, because if he'd have put down there, he would have got himself into trouble. And now he's just probably going a fraction quicker than Ruby wants here. So he's just running again. Oh! Oh.
And a fall.
Ooh, I hope Ruby's okay. It just looked like he kicked him on the back of the head there. But that's, you know, this is the obvious risk that you take when you school them in full view of the cameras and everything. You know, you do run the risk of something happening which is not according to plan. That's great news. See Ruby get up after that, because it just looked like, you can see the mark on the back of his helmet.
Yeah.
It looked like he kicked him on the back. But the good thing was, Ballycasey went to the next obstacle and gave it 6 feet.
And just talk us through the mistake here, Mick. Just puts down.
Yeah, well,
we'll get a chance. We'll look back and we'll play it again.
Yeah, well, the thing is, we'll watch it in slow motion and we can explain exactly what's happening. Because when you've got a horse like this who runs at an obstacle in your hands, he either needs to come up out of your hands and fly it like he did the first time, or do a little dance in front of the board, which is what you want him to do, because it shows he's actually using his brain. His brain is engaging into what you want him to do, whereas there was no brain engagement. He was just getting confused. Now just watch this. You can see what Ruby does here. He's just taking him back a little bit to try and get him to just shorten up a little bit on the way in here. But then Ruby says, right, okay, you're running, you're not going to shorten, I'm going to let you jump it. So this is the one where he actually jumps out of his hands. And we're seeing a slow-mo now of two other horses. We're just going to come back to the...
By which time the next... the main group should be the next fence when we rejoin them.
Here we go now. Now you can just see what's happening here. He's just running. You can see that he's pulling against Ruby. And Ruby's just saying, right, look, just back off a little bit here for me. Come on, just back off. And you can see the horse on the inside here. He's lobbing along quite happily. But Ballycasey is just running a little bit in Ruby's hands. He's not really doing what Ruby wants him to do. And you can just see the way Ruby's leg position is, very forward there. And he's just second-guessed the horse. And because of that, he's paid the price. And you can just see Ruby is fine. Thank God for that. And it'll be interesting to see what way they go. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they say, right, get back on, and away we go again.
It looks that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. Because, you know, the horse is okay, the jockey's okay. Do you want to leave it on the horse having hit the deck? Not a chance. You want him back down there. And this could be the best lesson Ballycasey has ever learned. Because if he's going to be silly, he needs to learn what happens if you don't actually back off an obstacle. And I think he's learned his lesson. We saw him going to the next fence and giving it 6 feet.
Yeah.
He's learned his lesson. And it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Because this will not be the last time this horse schools. Because Willie, he'll give him a little pop at home. Out of the limelight and out of the glare and view of all the cameras. Ruby will just make sure that everything's okay. Double check that the horse is sound. Make sure that they're not going to do any damage. Make sure the horse is 100%. If everybody's happy.
Well, he still seems full of beans, though, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. Well, he hasn't done anything. Has he? It's not like he's galloped 4 miles and had his backside smacked. He's actually quite a sensible horse, because he's obviously pulled up with all the others when he was loose and not done too much.
He's not gone charging round, has he?
No. Here we go. Now watch his ears. I get you, they're very, very pricked, and he's having a look. Watch how the horse is backing off. Look at that. Job done. And I know there'll be plenty of people out there going, oh, he's had a fall, he's had a fall. But I defy anybody. It'll be interesting to see how much jumping he does now, whether they carry on or whether they just think, right, we'll leave it at one fence and then we can take him home now, away from the glare of everybody else, and school him at home.
So it could almost be not the best thing that's happened to him, but it could be a really valuable lesson for him going to the festival, having had that experience today.
Of course it is. The horse has ended up on the deck. He's gone down to an obstacle after that and he's given it 3 feet. You saw him jumping loose. Ruby's got back on board. He's gone down. He's jumped the fence like he'd been doing it all his life.
And it looks like they're just doing the one as well, just get that experience back into him, the good experience, and leave it alone.
It's very important with animals. They'll tell you, it doesn't matter what it is, but with horses, it's important you finish on a good note. That way you're taking a positive away from the day. Otherwise, you take away a negative.
He's also just bitten his tongue, maybe,
He's bit his tongue, yeah. The one place you don't want to see blood is coming out of their nose. If you see blood coming out of a horse's mouth, it's nowhere near as bad. He's obviously just kicked himself under the chin or something. But just look what he does here. He just paddles and steps, what we call steps into the middle of the fence. He's got no momentum. And because of that, he ends up paying the price. But hopefully we'll see him jump the next fence loose and you'll see exactly what's happened.
So you wouldn't be along, someone's tweeted and said, bad news for anyone who's backed it for the RSA?
No.
Completely not.
It's not, listen, it's not a breathtaking display of jumping. We're not saying it is. But what you have to remember is, this horse has had a fall. He's then 100% sound afterwards. They've got back on board. He's jumped, and he's jumped it really, really nicely. It is not a perfect preparation, but I would not actually be too bothered.
Okay. And anything you could really take away as a real positive this afternoon? I think the fact we've seen Champagne Fever and seen him jumping well has got to be a huge plus.
Yes, it does. And I think, like you said, you know, we haven't seen the horse for some time, but to see him in the flesh and to see him doing that well, I think there'll be a lot of people who'll take a lot of heart from that. But I think the story, the headline tomorrow will be Ballycasey falls.
Yep, undoubtedly.
Of course it will. But I think, you know, I've ridden horses that have fallen and they've gone on and won at the festival. Ruby Walsh has ridden horses that have fallen, gone on and won at the festival. It's happened before. It'll happen again.
Well, I was looking out for an opportunistic bookmaker to be emailing in and pushing out half a point or something, but nobody's managed. No one's done that.
Really, it'd be interesting to see what the exchanges have done, right in the light of that, because I'm sure there'll be so many people who'll have been watching these gallops and straight away think, right, now is my chance.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And we'll see him again this week, Mick.
Yeah, looking forward to Fontwell later on in the week, and he'll be in again at the weekend. And it'll be just interesting to get the views of Willie and Ruby after what's happened today, because Ruby was on board. I'll be very surprised if he isn't positive about how the horse jumped the fence after his fall.
And how he's reacted to it.
How he's reacted to it. That's what you've got to look for. Look for the horse's reaction. See how he copes with it. If he'd have gone down to that fence, having had a fall, and wetting himself, then you'd have had a problem. But that horse went down there assured.
Good stuff. Well, Mick, many thanks for your input this afternoon. We'll see Mick again at Fontwell on Wednesday. Thanks to you as well for tuning in this afternoon, and stay with us. We've got Stateside coming your way very shortly.